All right, ladies and gentlemen, any kind of football fanatic, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children, adults of all ages, and anybody that is a football fanatic, we are now officially live here at JP Football Fanatics for your Week 16 predictions. We've got a lot of games to talk about a little bit. We've got some great picks coming up this weekend for the holidays. What better matchup to watch than some of those great matchups that are going on this weekend? So I'm excited for it. I hope you are too. It's going to be a great weekend of football. Great matchups. Probably getting a little bit of money too for around the holidays. A little bit if you bet smartly. So yeah, no, we're excited. I'm excited to really get into the predictions. We're already heading towards the end of the regular season. We've got this week, next week, and the week after, and then we head into the postseason. And that's when the real football really begins. The road to the Super Bowl. And before we can talk about any of those predictions and anything else you guys want to talk about, please be sure to hit that subscribe button on this YouTube channel and hit that notification bell. If you do all those things, you'll be able to listen in to all the content that I post each and every week and so on and so forth. And I know it will be great material. And also, if you could do too, please drop a like on this video and also leave a comment down below as well. You can leave a comment down below in the live chat here or after the live stream is over. You're more than welcome to leave comments on them as well, so that way you guys can be a part of the NFL content. I know you guys really want to hear me talk. I know there's a lot of great things that I really have to offer for you guys. So, I really enjoy doing this and I want to keep doing it for a long time from now. So if you're able to do all the things that I'm asking you to do right now, to like, comment, subscribe, and hit the notification bell, all will be good. And all will be good in that time frame. So please do all those things, help a guy out, and all will be good. So thank you so much for that. All right, let's go ahead. Let's begin with the first game of Week 16, starting off tomorrow night at 8:15 sharp. We've got the Jacksonville Jaguars, who are 1.5-point favorites to the New York Jets. Let's talk about this game a little bit. So the Jags are favored by 1.5. To be quite frank with you, I really don't know who's going to win this game. I think this is a pretty, in my opinion, I think it's a dead even game because I think both teams are kind of similar to one another. The Jets want to play the defense, and they will play really, really good defense against the Jaguars. I think the Jets will play really good defense against the Jaguars. And then you got the Jaguars offense that's probably going to play, depending on their mood of the day and depending on whether or not they want to play good football. They could also play some good offense too. It seems like Trevor Lawrence, I believe he's having a bounce back kind of a year. I think he's playing better than he did last year, obviously, because I think he has more of a competent coach and he has more players around him and playmakers that can help him out. Zay Jones has been really, really solid for him, for Trevor Lawrence as of late in the season. So he's been doing really good. Christian Kirk's been kind of on and off, but he's a pretty solid receiver for this team too that really can help out. Evan Ingram, I mean, not the biggest Evan Ingram fan. I don't think he's really anything that special of a tight end, to be quite honest with you. But he also has been pretty serviceable this year and can help out with this offense. Then we know the Jags can also run the ball as well. So Trevor Lawrence right now is questionable for this game with he has something wrong with his toe, I believe. But right now, I think he's looking pretty clear to play. I think he will be able to play tomorrow night. So that will be nice to really see from him. But I don't really know who's going to win this game. Like I said, I think the Jets are going to play the defense, and I think the Jags are going to want to play the offense. Now, it would be a different story where it probably would make things a little bit easier if this game was in Jacksonville. And the reason why I say that is because when Jacksonville is traveling all the way up here to New Jersey to play the Jets. So the weather, climate, and everything is supposed to be very rainy tomorrow, very cold. The weather is not supposed to be the greatest. Let's just put that out there right now. The weather is not going to be the greatest tomorrow, and it's going to be, kind of a crappy day and probably not the best kind of football that we want to see and everything. So, that'll be kind of hard to do for the Jags, especially because they're not used to that kind of weather climate, and the Jets are. Now, we're kind of looking at the Jets right now. Mike White is still going to be out, and Zach Wilson is going to be the starter for this game, which also does not help the Jets' cause by any means. This is an important game for both teams if they want to make it into the last wild card spot of the playoffs on the AFC side. The Jags, I like them some weeks. I really do. I think they kind of can be sneaky good. They can kind of play good football here and there. I think, but at the same time, too, they also can play really bad football. We saw them play against the Detroit Lions and absolutely got the doors blown out of them. And we also saw them play teams like the Cowboys and the Ravens, and where they had to come back in those games and win those games. So I don't know what kind of team we're going to see from the Jags this weekend. I really don't. I don't know what we're going to see tomorrow night. But I think this is going to be a tough defense for Trevor Lawrence and company to get going. Even without Quentin Williams, I don't know if Quentin Williams is still playing for the Jets. But even without him too, they've got all the secondary and the corners like Sauce Gardner that will really cover really well. I think he'll have a pretty good matchup with Zay Jones on the other side of the ball. That will be a pretty good matchup to see. He'll either get with Zay Jones or Christian Kirk. So that will be kind of nice to see and see how he really does there. But this Jets defense is for real. They're very, very similar to the 49ers, if not, about the same, maybe even if not better than the 49ers defense, but not by a whole lot. But this defense for the Jets is just crazy. But what really puts them down and really why I haven't really ranked them in my top 10 the last several weeks is because of the quarterback situation, because of the offense situation. Zach Wilson has struggled a lot this year. I thought this would have been the year for Zach Wilson to step up to the plate and really, make a name for himself and really, play with pride and really put himself together. But he just has not been able to do that yet for this team. And how much of a fault is that of him? I think it's a pretty good chunk of it, but also too, I think it has a little bit of coaching too that kind of doesn't really focus on the offense as much as they do in that defense. So that also plays a big part in that too. But this is a tough game. I think it's a good game. I think it's a good test for Trevor Lawrence to see, he has played some good defenses this year. Obviously, he played against the Ravens, and that's a pretty good defense that they played. They played the Titans, which is a pretty good defense as well. So they have been playing some good defenses as of late. But they've been taking advantage of some defenses that have been, injury prone a little bit, kind of falling apart at this point in the season. The Jets defense is still very good, though. Even without Quentin Williams, they probably would be better with Quentin Williams in it. But without him, they're still very, very much alive as like a top 3 defense, or at least that, or top 5. Which is going to be tough for Trevor Lawrence and company to overcome with that kind of a defense. It's going to be tough for them. I think it's a good challenge for them as well, though. And I think it's just a tough matchup. I don't think it's exactly the greatest matchup for the Jags in this case, but I kind of like it because this will give Trevor Lawrence and this will give Doug Peterson a run for his money to play Robert Saleh's defense. With that being said, though, I'm going to go with the Jets. I think the Jags have every opportunity to win. I would like to pick the Jags to win this game, and it's very well possible that they do. But I'm going to take the Jets. And I'm taking the Jets for one reason and one reason only, and it should be for good reason. They're playing in New Jersey. The weather's going to be crappy. The Jets won't play great either, but they're already familiar with the weather climate, and whereas the Jags aren't. And that's just as simple as that. So I'm going with the Jets for this one, but I would take the points with the Jags at 1.5 because I think they still have that opportunity. They could probably sneak away with a win like they did last week, but I think the Jets will come in. I think they will find a way to sneakily be able to beat the Jags, but it will be probably a low-scoring affair, just to point that out. All right, next game, you've got the Atlanta Falcons at the Baltimore Ravens at 7.5, which is favored by the Ravens. I don't like the I like the Falcons. I like the story that they kind of tried to come up with this year. It did not, end very well with Marcus Mariota getting benched, and now you've got Desmond Ridder in. Again, like I said last night, I don't see a lot of a whole separation between Ridder and Mariota. I guess it's just trying to create a spark or something for, the playoff implications and seeing if they can win the NFC South. So, I don't know. We'll see what happens there. But I'm going with the Ravens. I'm taking the Ravens, and I'm taking the 7.5. yes, the Falcons are good in some cases. They run the ball very well. Tyler Algier, I think he's the guy that's going to start steering the ship for this offense, and especially in the run game, because I don't think Cordell Patterson is the answer anymore. He's just, he's been playing through some injuries this year, and he's not totally reliable. He's just not been reliable this year much. So Tyler Algier will do, what he can to make some really big plays here on the ground. And if Desmond Ritter can fix the problems that he had last week against that Saints secondary and play up to his potential, maybe get the ball out to Drake London, the best receiver right now, you know what I mean? Like, if they could do those kind of things, the Falcons could give the Ravens for the run for their money. But this is a game where the Ravens have to win, and I think they get it. Not only because of playoff implications, I think they could still make the playoffs. I think they're a playoff team, but it's also a game that they have to win in order to even try to win their division. So I'm taking the Ravens here. I'm taking the seven. I don't know if I would take the 7.5 for the Ravens. I think that is a lot to ask, especially if Lamar Jackson is not playing in this one. They're saying he might be back in this one. I'm not sure. If Lamar Jackson does play, they might be able to cover the spread. But if not, then I would avoid betting on the Ravens for this game, because without Lamar Jackson, the offense could be a little bit worse than what they are right now. The offense for the Ravens is having a lot of issues right now. The defense figured out what they really need to do. I think their defense is playing better. But offensively, they're just rough right now around the edges. They don't have a true number one receiver that is very reliable for this team. And like I said, the defense is playing good, but they can also be inconsistent too. And that's mostly because of, Greg Roman, making defensive calls. But I still trust the Ravens more than I would trust the Falcons. Just putting that out there. So I'll take the Ravens. If Lamar plays, I'll take the 7.5. But if Lamar does not play in this game, then I would not worry about betting on this game. Maybe even put the plus 7.5 for the Falcons, and it could be a lot closer than people think. All right, next game you've got the Detroit Lions at the Carolina Panthers. The Lions are favored by 2.5 points. I like this matchup a lot. I think this is a really important matchup for both teams because, for one thing, the playoffs. The Lions could sneak in, in the inside looking in with that last wild card spot for the NFC playoffs. So this is a game that they have to win. The Panthers also have to win this game too, and it's very likely that they could also win this game too, because of one thing. They could also make the playoffs too at this point in the season just by winning a couple more games and hoping the Bucks or the Falcons or the Saints lose. All the teams right now in the NFC South are not very good. They're all below 500, and that puts the Panthers in a good position still to even win the division. Right now, I think they're one of the more well-rounded teams. They may just be the right team that's probably a little bit more trustworthy right now. Them and the Bucks a little bit that could win the division. So that's something to kind of look into here. Defensively for the Panthers, I still think they're pretty darn good. I don't think they're nowhere near as good as what the Lions saw last week with the Jets, but I think they're still pretty good. And then last week with the Panthers running the ball, I have no idea exactly what happened to the Panthers and why they weren't successful with running the ball last week. But it did not really work out or pan out in their favor. So that's also something that the Panthers will have to try to figure out going into this game this week against the Detroit Lions. The Detroit Lions have also been improving on defense too, and especially they've been improving with the run defense. I think ever since they've got Aiden Hutchinson and ever since they've been on that huge win streak as of late, the defense has started to come on. I think teams are trying to now plan to beat them in a lot of different ways, like using the passing game as an example there too. To slow down the Lions and possibly try to find ways to beat them. That's something to look into as well. Sam Darnold, been playing pretty limited. He hasn't really made like a lot of mistakes yet. But this could be the game where he could make mistakes. And that's something that we've seen Sam Darnold do before. and he probably could continue to make mistakes. So I like this game a lot. I want to go with the Panthers. I like the story that they've been coming up with lately, and I kind of like their situation right now where they're in a position to win the division. But I'm going with Detroit though. I like what Detroit is doing. They're a hot team right now. Very, very hot. Not many teams want to play this team right now. They can do it all on offense. They can pass the ball. They can run the ball. They can pass block. They can do this. They can do that. There's a lot of things they've been able to figure out as of late, and they're just getting better and better. And they've beaten a couple of really good teams too along the way. They've beaten the Packers. Earlier in that time frame, they probably weren't playing very good football at the time, but they're still a very good team. They're also in a position to also get into the playoffs too. And they beat the Vikings. That's another good team that they beat too. Probably that was a bad defense, and they also beat the Jets too. As of recently, as of last week, they beat the Jets. That's not an easy game to play either. So this Lions team is hot. I like what they have right now. I like what they're doing, and I would like to see them make it to the playoffs. So I'll take Detroit to win this game. I think they have a good opportunity to do so, and I would take the 2.5. I would honestly really think about taking the 2.5 because I think it's a good opportunity for the Lions to really, prove a lot of people wrong and say that, they're a sneaky, feisty team that can, beat you in any given way. All right, next game, you've got the Seattle Seahawks who are traveling their way to the Kansas City Chiefs. Guys, can we just stop with these big spreads? Can we please stop? 9.5 points. Why should I pick the Chiefs spread? I am taking the Chiefs to win the straight up, but I'm not taking them at minus 9.5. And I'm going to tell you why. Their defense is trash. I said it last night. Their defense is trash. They gave up 24 points to the lowly Houston Texans. They gave up 28 points to the lowly Broncos team. They've been not good lately against really, really bad teams. The offense for the Chiefs will score in any which way, whatever they want to do. They will score on the Seahawks with no problems whatsoever. If they want to run the ball with McKinnon or Pacheco, they will absolutely do that. If they want to pass to Travis Kelce or Juju or Marquez Valdez-Scantling or Patrick Mahomes wants to run around and make plays on his feet, they're going to do that. They're going to put up points against a very, very, very bad Seahawks defense. Two really bad defenses going at it. This is a game that's potentially going to probably be in the 30s, possibly both teams go into the 40s. So I would most certainly look into the over and under on this game because I think that's how kind of crazy this game is going to go. The Seahawks, what they have, Tyler Lockett, they'll be out without Tyler Lockett, but they can still run the ball fairly well. I think they'll be able to do that pretty well here in this game. And you've got DK Metcalf. And Geno Smith has been playing good. And the offensive line, I was a little suspect of them in the beginning of the year, but I think they're proving now that they're getting better at the right time of the year, but their defense is just not allowing them to do it. So that's going to be very hard. That's why I can't pick the Seahawks because I just don't like the Seahawks defense whatsoever. They're just not good. This is the time of year where they would start getting better, but they just have not been good yet, and that's why I cannot pick the Seahawks to win. However, I will take the Chiefs to win the straight up, but it's a game I'm looking at the over-under. I would not bet on the spread on this game. I don't trust the Chiefs to cover the spread. I think they're just going to be below it. I think by the most of what the Chiefs will win this game by will probably be a touchdown, and that's no exaggeration. So I advise you once again, if you have not learned the first time, or if you have not learned the second time, I highly advise you not to bet on these big spreads. I highly advise you not to bet on them because you will kick yourself in the butt later if you think that the Chiefs will cover 9.5. If they couldn't even let alone cover 14 last week against a terrible Texans team. But I'll take them to win the straight up. I think they'll win the straight up. All right, next you've got the New Orleans Saints at the Cleveland Browns. The Browns are favored by 2.5. I don't know if I like this game as much. I don't think I'm really focusing on this game too much. It may be kind of like a low key, kind of a good game. Maybe I don't know. I thought this was would have been probably a better of a game earlier in the year. If it was played earlier in the year. But at the same time, too, even before the season, I thought it would have been a sneaky good kind of a game, too, a good affair. But no, it's not. It's Andy Dalton versus Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson, very, very inconsistent because he's just getting used to playing on his new team. So I don't really expect them to really do anything crazy in this game. However, what they can do is they can run the ball and they can run it fairly well. The Saints, on the other hand, Andy Dalton, some days is up here and other days he's like way down below. This might be his week where he could be down below. So I will take the Browns to win this game. I'm not totally confident that the Browns will win. I'm not totally confident in betting on the spread, but I think they win the straight up. I think they can find ways to win the straight up in this game. I just don't like this game. I don't like the matchups right now, and I just don't like how either team is playing right now. And they both have not lived up to expectations this year. But I'm taking the Browns because of their run game. I think they can run the ball pretty well, and if Watson can get himself figured out, if he can make some plays down the field with, Donovan Peoples-Jones or get some kind of connection with Amari Cooper, they can find ways to win this game. But right now with the Saints, they're just so wildly inconsistent that I have no idea if the Saints will win this game or not. So I'll take the Browns, but I will not take them to cover the spread. I would probably look more into like the money line, or it probably would advise you to look more in like the over under, because that's kind of like what you're going to be looking at if you want money for this weekend. All right, next game you've got the lowly and terrible Houston Texans, but they are playing against the Tennessee Titans, who are favored by 5.5 points, which is not really a big surprise here that the Titans spread is this low at 5.5, and there's one reason particularly for that, and the reasoning behind that is because Ryan Tannehill may not be playing in this game. Ryan Tannehill may not be playing in this game, and that's going to rely on Malik Willis to, try and do something. Maybe not. Maybe he'll be very limited. I don't think Malik Willis is very good. I'm going to be flat out honest with you. He's a young rookie. I don't think he's very good right now. The last two games we saw him start in, they were not pretty games for him. I think he's extremely inaccurate. Okay. I think the biggest thing that he really does that he can do well in, and I kind of wish the Titans would have, started to play him a little bit more this year, is he can get outside of the pocket. He can scramble. He can run. I think, that's really all that I think he's going to do. And I think they can do that very well against the Texans. He beat the Texans last time, not in terms of the passing game. He only passed for I think it was 48 yards or 55 yards or something like that. It wasn't for a lot of yards. I don't even think he even mustered 60 yards of passing. But he did everything on the ground. And Derrick Henry also did everything too. The Texans offense was all based off of Derrick Henry. And I think that's going to be the case again. That's why I'm going with the Titans, I'm sorry. Last time I went with the Texans, even despite with Derrick Henry, knowing that he would have had a big monster game, in which he did. I think the Titans will win this one. I think it's tough to play in Tennessee. It's tough to play in that stadium with those fans. And Derrick Henry is playing Derrick Henry time right now. He's playing, this is the year where he's going to start playing hot. And he might muster 200 yards rushing again and a couple touchdowns. And that would absolutely help me in the playoffs for fantasy football if he can do that. So I'm rooting for Derrick Henry this week. I need him to have a really big game, and I think he will have a big game. He might even have a bigger game in this game than he did the last time because the Texans' defense is also trash, especially in the run. So not much to talk about the Texans there, but I will take the Titans to win, and I will take them to cover the spread. I think that's very well possible that they can cover 5.5. Now, I just want to talk real quick. I personally don't like when these spreads are at like 4, 4.5, 5, 5.5, because football is weird. The most common denominators of like when games are won are mostly by anywhere between like 3 to 6 to maybe 10 points, and that's just common facts right there. That's why I don't like these kind of spreads, or maybe they'll even win by a point. It's very likely that they do that too. But I don't like these half points, and I don't like betting on the four, and the 4.5 and the 5 because it's not often all the time where they cover, exactly at those points right there. And it's, and especially in this kind of a game too, in this environment, and the way the Texans have been playing lately, they're not good, but they've been giving some teams a run for their money lately, like the Cowboys and the Chiefs. Those were two games that the Texans gave a run for their money for. This could be a potential game like that too. But I think the Texans, with the rushing attack and with Derrick Henry, they can probably cover this spread pretty well. All right, next we got the Cincinnati Bengals at the New England Patriots. The very sad New England Patriots, who lost on a very, very last second defensive play where Mac Jones handed the ball off to Ramondre Stevenson. He flipped it back to Jacoby Myers, and Jacoby Myers literally passed the ball back to Chandler Jones to lose them the game. The Bengals are hot. Last week's game against the Bengals wasn't exactly a great game for them, but it was more because of that defense and the turnovers that they were able to force on Tom Brady and the Buccaneers. Now, if they had not been able to get any of those turnovers, they probably would have lost that game. Just saying, they probably would have lost that game if they did not have got like any of those turnovers like they did. The Bengals defense is hot. They are playing, the football that we saw last year from the Super Bowl. Everything else I like about the Bengals, I like Joe Burrow. I think he's been very consistent this year. I think he's way more consistent this year, more trustworthy than he was last year. The offensive line seems to be getting a little bit better. I still don't trust them 100%, but I think they're getting a little bit better. I like the passing attack that they got. Obviously, I talk about that all the time, and I give them all the praise in the world, but it's true. I do like that. I like the running backs of Joe Mixon and Samaje Perine. I think they're both very good running backs that, can really get the ground game going. The Patriots, what do I like about the Patriots besides the defense and special teams? Nothing else. There's nothing on offense that I like about the Patriots besides Mac Jones, who's a great guy in my opinion, but he's just not been playing very good football lately. And that's mostly because of Matt Patricia, and it's because of Bill Belichick, and it's because he has no legit receivers to throw the ball to. And every time he has to throw the ball to, it's either to Devontae Parker that can make plays at times, or Kendrick Bourne if he's even out there on the field, which for whatever reason the Patriots don't like playing him. So a lot of times he has to turn to Jacoby Myers, and that's not always the answer for a passing attack team. What the Patriots do well in is they run the ball. Ramondre Stevenson, that's it. That's all they can do on offense is run the ball. That's the only way they're going to be successful. Defensively, they're still top-notch. I think they're still a pretty solid defense with what they've got. That probably will match up well with the Bengals. I really want to see how the secondary players, like with the Million Joneses that they have on defense, and I want to see how Matthew Judon can do getting the pressure onto Joe Burrow. Like, there are some things I want to see from the Patriots defense that probably will keep them in this game, but I can't trust this Patriots offense. I'm sorry, everybody. I'm sorry, Patriots fans. But I can't stand to watch the Patriots offense. I just don't think they have it in them. I don't think they're going to. If they weren't able to beat the Raiders last week, with the offense that they had last week, and with Mac Jones having that kind of a day and a low QBR rating, I can't pick them to win. I'm sorry. I have to go against them. I'm going with the Bengals. I probably would also take the Bengals at 3.5. I really would take the points with the Bengals. And I think that's very well possible that they could cover the spread. Because what's there to like about the Patriots? Besides the defense, I like, and I think that's still very solid. But what else does the Patriots have that is going to make me want to pick them? And that's nothing. They don't have anything else for me to pick them. I would like to see them have a good coached game. I want to see how that defense does. But offensively, they're not going to get anything started. So I will take my man Joe Burrow. I will take the Cincinnati Bengals, and I will take them to cover the spread. That's how I will do for that game. All right, next we've got the New York Giants, the New York G-Men at the Minnesota Vikings, and they are favored by 3.5 points. The Giants impressed me last week. I thought they played a pretty good game. I think they played a good defensive game last week against the Commanders, besides the last few plays that happened, at the end of the game there, especially that pass interference. That should have been a pass interference call right there. But they played a good game. They impressed me last week. Kayvon Thibodeau is giving people reasons why he was a great first-round pick. He's giving reasons why he's a first-round pick. I think, I think he had the best game of his young rookie career, and at least for this year. Against Taylor Heineke, he was able to get pressure on Taylor Heineke. He was able to get pressure on that offense. He was able to force some turnovers there that turned into, at times turned into points. So that's good to see from the Giants. Other than the offensive line that has been very suspect, what else do they really have? Saquon Barkley, he's still a beast, and Daniel Jones. Giving him credit where credit is due. I don't love Daniel Jones. I'm not the biggest Daniel Jones guy. I don't think he's the answer for this team, but I admire for what he has done this year, and that's mostly because of coaching. I think the coaching staff has done a really good job with him this year in containing him, and that's basically why the Giants have won all these games this year. I didn't think they were going to win it last week, but they shocked everybody, and they were able to do it very well. The Vikings, I don't like the Vikings defense whatsoever. They have not been good in quite a while. They've given up way too many points. They've given up way too many yardage, on the ground, in the air. There's not much I like about the Vikings defense. But offensively, I think they give the Giants the edge. I think the Giants defense has been playing pretty good this year. I think their defense is still pretty good. Stopping the run is going to be tough for them. I think they've been kind of susceptible to that lately. And I think the Vikings will run the ball a little bit with Dalvin Cook. Secondary, I think they have the secondary players, but I don't think they have enough to really cover Justin Jefferson or Adam Thielen or even KJ Osborne, who had a really big game this week. So I will take the Vikings to win. I think they win this one on Christmas Eve. I will take them to win the game. But I'm not sure if they'll cover the spread. I think this is going to be a really close game. It could be potentially a 3-point or less game. I think it's going to be a very, very, very close game because I think the coaching staff is going to get this team, getting them back on track at the right time. And they'll probably be able to slow down Kevin O'Connell's offense. And I think he'll be able to slow down Kirk Cousins, force some mistakes there. And I think they can, they'll be able to do what they can to keep themselves in the game because of coaching. So I will take the Vikings to win. But as far as the spread goes at 3.5, I probably would take the Giants plus 3.5. As crazy as that might sound, I think that's very true though. But the Vikings get the straight up pick though. I think they'll win the game. Next, we've got the Buffalo Bills at the Chicago Bears. The Bears are not a very good team. The Bills are favored by 8.5. I don't think the Bills cover the spread. I'm putting that out there right now. Mitch Milani said it. The Bottom Line View said it. That's his YouTube name. He said it already. He said it best. That the Bills, the Bears of what they can do, they run the ball. The Bills' defense is very susceptible to that. I absolutely agree with that, 100%. So I think it's going to be a much closer game than people think. I don't think this Bills defense is playing the Bills defense that we saw early in the year. They have some injuries right there on defense right now. Von Miller, who's on IR, and so on and so forth. That's going to be kind of tough for them to really, really make the big decisions to be able to win those kind of those kind of games right there. So that's going to be tough right there. But I still say the Bills are going to win. I think they're still a way better team than the Bears, no doubt in my mind about that. Um, but I can't take them at 8.5. I would take the Bears to kind of cover, but at the same time, I don't really want them to cover the spread. I don't think they would cover the spread just because you never know what kind of offense you're going to see from the Bills on any given day. But what the Bears can do well, and what they'll probably keep them close in the game, which is something they did against the Eagles last week, they ran the ball very well. Justin Fields runs the ball very well. Not the greatest passer in the world, so I think he'll struggle in the passing game there, but he can run and make scrambles when he really needs to, and probably could, score a couple touchdowns here, as could David Montgomery. So I will take the Bills to win the straight up. I think they win the straight up, but I think the Bears kind of cover the spread and don't allow them to, uh, you know, beat them by that much, especially with the way that the Eagles played them last week. So next game, the game I believe is going to probably be one of the best games of the week, and I like this matchup a lot. The Washington Commanders at the San Francisco 49ers. The 49ers are 7.5 point favorites. I understand why they are, because the Commanders defense last week was not that impressive last week. I don't think. I think they let up a lot of points, and I think they were very, very bad against the run. They allowed Saquon Barkley to pretty much run all over them and control the Giants offense. So that is a bit of a concern right there. They're not going to have a pretty day when it comes with Christian McCaffrey running the football for you. It's just not happening. If they gave up that many yardage to Saquon Barkley, they're not going to limit McCaffrey whatsoever. So I don't see that at all. I'm taking the 49ers to win the game. I like the Commanders. I think they've had a really good run. But lately, what I saw offensively with Taylor Heinicke, I like him. He probably will make this game interesting. He probably will try to keep it as close as possible. But I think defensively they're struggling. And I think offensively, you know, Taylor Heinicke will make some kind of mistakes, but he needs a couple big plays in order to keep himself in the game. The 49ers are the most complete team in the NFL right now. That's just hardcore facts. They are the most complete team right now. They've got everything that any franchise would want right now. They've got the offensive line. Well, when Trent Williams is playing in there, they've got the offensive line that's good. They've got McCaffrey in the run game. They've got a good passing game. They can pass the ball a little bit if they wanted to. George Kittle, Brandon Ayuk, Deebo Samuel can do it all a little bit. I'm not sure if Deebo is playing in this game, but I would imagine that he is. I don't think he's hurt anymore, but I would imagine he is playing in this game. He's been a little bit quiet as of late because I think a lot of it is because of his injuries, so that's probably why we have not seen him really do a whole lot for this year. I think he's been playing through a lot of injuries there. And as far as that goes, Brock Purdy is the guy. I think he is the quarterback moving forward. He fits into the Kyle Shanahan scheme very, very well. I think he's very good in that department. And it's going to be tough. It's going to be extremely tough for the Commanders to keep up with this really, really well coached team. So I will take the 49ers. I think it will be closer than people think, so I'm not going to take the 7.5, but I will take the 49ers to win the straight up because I think they're going to win the straight up. That is what I'm going to take away from this game. So I will take the Niners to win but it's not a game I'm willing to worth bet on because I just think there's other ways of how this game could go. Next game, the Eagles at the Dallas Cowboys. The Philadelphia Eagles, I should say, at the Dallas Cowboys. So you would think that the Eagles would probably be favored in this game, but they're not. It's the Dallas Cowboys. And why? I have no idea why the Dallas Cowboys are favored, but I think the reason why the spread is at 4.5. Well, I know for the reason why it is because Jalen Hurts is probably not going to be playing in this game. Very likely so he will not be playing in this game. We're probably going to see Gardner Minshew. Gardner Minshew. Very likely. And guess what? Gardner Minshew can win this game. And because with a lot of the injuries that the Cowboys are dealing with right now on defense, and, with the Eagles and what they're able to do, and with A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith and all of them, good receivers and a good offensive line, like, I think Minshew can still put up a really good game here. I really do. I think he can put himself in a good position to help the Eagles win the game. The Cowboys lately, Dak has been a roller coaster. And I don't know how much of that is because of Dak Prescott, but a lot of it probably is because of him, but it's also because of coaching too. The coaching has either been way too conservative or they've been way too aggressive in play calls or just making stupid boneheaded decisions like Mike McCarthy's been making. That's why I can't really take the Cowboys. I don't know if I really trust the Cowboys to win this game because of those things. And defensively, yes, they're one of the best defenses in the league, but I think they're dropping now and they're dropping steadily because of the injuries that they are dealing with right now. That's why I believe, they're not really a complete team. When they have injuries, they don't do typically well without some of their studs out there, and that's what's really going on here. They've been so susceptible to the run. They've been so susceptible to, the passing play and so passing plays and so on and so forth. So I'm going to, and I don't love this idea, but it's probably very well possible that I think Gardner Minshew can help the Eagles win. That's why I'm taking the Eagles to win the straight up because I feel like the Eagles, you know, inconsistent, yes, but I think this is like their time right now. Like they're already going to make the playoffs, and I believe they're going to win the division just by the way it's looking right now. Those things I believe is going to happen, and they will most likely win the division. Absolutely, they will. But they have depth that's very good, and they just have the players that can do well. They gel well together and play well together. And I think with Minshew, I think he's still a pretty darn good quarterback. I just don't think Jacksonville wanted to give him any more chances after those 2 seasons of when they drafted him and they have had him play. He's played over Nick Foles and he's played over whoever the quarterback was, the backup quarterback after Nick Foles was traded away. Like, the guy can play football, and we've seen him play football, and he's played some really good games. And I think he, regardless of the running aspect of things, and that will hurt the Eagles a little bit without having Jalen Hurts as far as, like, him running the game. But at the same time, too, they're just the more complete team than the Cowboys. They're handling pressure differently, and they've got quarterbacks and that they can trust. So I'm excited to kind of see this game. I'm actually really excited to see how the Eagles will be able to cover the game a little bit. So I'll take the Eagles to win. I will take them to win the game, and I will probably take them at plus 4.5. I think it's very well possible that they could. With a backup quarterback, it's crazy to think about, but they're still in a very good eligibility to win this game. So I will take the Eagles to win the straight up. I take the Eagles to cover the spread at 4.5. All right, next we got 4 more games left to talk about. We've got the Las Vegas Raiders. The Las Vegas Raiders at the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Pittsburgh Steelers are 2.5 point favorites in this game. This is Christmas Eve night, Most of these games, by the way, are being played on Saturday, Christmas Eve. So just keep that in the back of your minds when that time does come this weekend. And if you're looking at like only 3 games on Sunday, and what the other games are going on with right now, that's the reason why. So a lot of these games will be being played on Christmas Eve, with the exception of 3 other games, and we'll talk about them in a second. So the Steelers are favored by 2.5. This shocked me a little bit that the Steelers are favored. Not really, because this is like a home field advantage for them, and this is a game that the Steelers or the Raiders have to win. They're both teams that are desperate for wins right now. Either one of these teams could do it, and if either one of these teams get the win, we'll keep them in closer proximity to the playoffs. Now, the Steelers, as of late, Kenny Pickett should be back in this game, so that might make a little bit of more difference for the Steelers offense, okay? Kenny Pickett has been playing before his concussion better than Mitchell Trubisky did in his 2 weeks of starting for this team. I'm just being honest with you. I think Kenny Pickett is getting the rhythm to this offense now. I think he's doing all the right things that he should be doing, and I think this special connection now is coming with the connection to George Pickens. I think this is a duo that we're probably going to be seeing something that's going to be special. I think George Pickens is one of the best, if not the best receiver for the Steelers team. Deontay Johnson is very up and down, very vanilla at times. Najee Harris, yes, he's a solid running back at times, but they have not been all that great against with the run this year, except for last week, which was probably the strongest of the run we've seen all season from them. Offensive line has been improving. I think they're getting better in that department as well. And defensively, they're just playing good defense. They've got everybody back playing. They got Minka Fitzpatrick back. They've got T.J. Watt back, which when T.J. Watt is not in this lineup, this defense is totally different. But with him back into the lineup, this makes this defense a whole difference for the team. The Raiders, offensively, they can get it done offensively. They've got players on that offense that can scare you. We've seen that time and time again. The defense, however, is still very bad. They're still not very good. I don't personally trust them. And for them to win against the Patriots the way that they did last week was just pure luck. Pure luck. And that was Chandler Jones' best play of the year. So, I want to pick the Raiders. I really do. I want to see the Raiders come back and make a playoff run. And this could be the game where they could do it. But for whatever reason, I don't know if I want to take the Raiders. Because you're playing at Heinz Field. You're playing in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. It's at the end of the year. The Steelers are playing good football at the right time. I still don't think they're going to make the playoffs, but this is like implications right now for like getting ready for next year and see like how to get this team figured out for next year is exactly what it's going to be like. So I will take the Steelers. I think the Steelers win the game here. Now, I don't know. I like what we have here right now. I like what we have. I think the Steelers are, not a great team. I don't love the Steelers, but I think they've got the coaching staff. They always put together the best team that they can. I think Mike Tomlin has proved that time and time again. While I think they're still going to have a losing record this year, this is a game where they're going to kind of keep themselves relevant, especially going into next year. And again, it's Heinz Field. It's in Pittsburgh. It's a tough place to play, especially on Christmas Eve. So I think the Steelers win this game. I really do. I think the Steelers win this game. But it's a game I'm not really willing to bet on. I don't know if I really want to take the 2.5. So it's a game I would probably avoid betting on just because of those implications, because of playoffs, teams' records, and just so on and so forth. You can kind of figure that out from there. So we'll take the Steelers to win but not to take the spread. I think that's something that, has to really be thought about before doing something like that. All right, next we've got the Green Bay Packers at the Miami Dolphins, who are 4.5 point favorites to Aaron Rodgers and the Packers. The Packers, offensively, I like what the Packers have been doing. I mean, listen, I don't think they're the best team in the NFL. I don't even think they're the best team in the NFC. But I think Aaron Rodgers is finally coming to his senses that he needs Christian Watson in this offense. When Christian Watson is involved and when Aaron Rodgers wants to make him relevant, he will make him relevant. He will throw the ball to him in the end zone for touchdowns and in the red zone and even in deep balls because he's the only most reliable receiver for this team that can make the plays and can have a good connection with Aaron Rodgers. Allen Lazard is definitely not the answer here. Romeo Doubs has moments, but he's still not really technically the answer for the team as well in terms of being like your number one guy. And I also like the way they run the ball. I think they do an excellent job with Aaron Jones, and they get AJ Dillon involved in there too. I think it's very important that you get those kind of players involved, and I think that's very something that we're probably going to see the Dolphins struggle with is with Aaron Rodgers. And they did a good job last week. The Dolphins defense did a really good job last week, I thought, in terms of covering Josh Allen and forcing him to have some mistakes here and there, and covering the receivers and taking Stephon Diggs out of the game. Like that, that's probably the better defensive performance that we've seen from the Dolphins all year. But on paper, they have the talent. I believe they have the talent on defense, but I think the difference between Mike McDaniel and what we saw from Brian Flores from the last couple of years is that offense comes first in Mike McDaniel's, perception of football because of the Kyle Shanahan tree that he comes from and he's worked with him before. And Brian Flores was more of like he did not like Tua and didn't want any kind of success from the offense and wanted everything to be defense because he came from a defensive mind of a coach of Bill Belichick. So those were the differences between the two coaches there, and that's kind of what we've seen with the Dolphins this year. Last year, they were more defensive excellence and better coverage and everything like that, and great secondary, especially with Xavier Howard in there. This year, it's offense first under Mike McDaniel. But that's not always going to work out in this case. So I just want to add here, Aaron Rodgers typically does not play very well in Florida weather. So that's something to kind of keep in mind of. And the defense of the Packers too, they have talent, but they're still not very good. I think they're especially susceptible to the run. And I think Raheem Mostert can definitely get the run game going. I believe Jeff Wilson is also playing in this game. That will probably get some split time here too. So we probably will see both running backs have good games in this game. And I think Tua is probably going to be a little bit more conservative. I think he's going to be a little bit more conservative in this game in terms of taking the check down plays and allowing the ball, allowing his running backs to run the ball. Is my view, because I think they can take advantage of that with the Packers defense that's not exactly the greatest. And I don't even think they even have the secondary that will even cover Tyreek Hill or Jalen Waddle. So they could probably also have a good passing day too. But I'll take the Dolphins to win. I think I want to take them just because I think they win because of the home field advantage. I think that's very well possible of why they win this game. But I'll take the Packers at plus 4.5 because it's very well possible that the Packers could also win the game too. So that's something to kind of really look into too. But I'm taking the Dolphins straight up is because of where they're located. They're located in down South Florida. And that's probably going to be somewhere where the Packers, a team that's not used to that kind of weather, it will be different for them. So the Dolphins have the advantage here. They'll win this game. I think they win the game, but I think the Packers plus 4.5 would be a good thing to look into. 3 more games. I'll probably breeze through these pretty quick. The Broncos at the Rams. Broncos are favored at 2.5. Russell Wilson is questionable, and even if he wasn't, the Broncos offense still stinks. The Rams have Baker Mayfield, and Baker Mayfield, I'm not going to say he's great. I don't think he's been great. Even with that Raiders win against the Raiders, I still don't think he's a great quarterback for, this team. But I like the coaching staff here. I think defensively they're still pretty darn good. Defensively, I think they cover very well. I think they stop the run pretty well. Aaron Donald might be coming back in this game, so that'll be something, really special that he could also take advantage of to Russell Wilson and the offensive line. And Jalen Ramsey can also really cover on these receivers that are very, very overrated. So I will take the Rams to win, and I will take them at plus 2.5. I don't like the Broncos at all. I just think the Broncos are just absolutely trash. Sorry to say it, and the Rams aren't very good either. But I'll take the Rams to win. I feel bad. I believe Jim Nantz, Tony Romo, and Tracy Wolfson are going to be at that game, and I feel so sorry for them to waste their time on Christmas Day just for that just, horrendous matchup. All right, next we've got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at the Arizona Cardinals. The Bucs are favored by 6.5. It might get higher because of the fact that the Cardinals may be playing Trace McSorley. Regardless of who's at quarterback for this team, I'm going with the Bucs. I'm going with the spread at 6.5. I'm sorry, Cardinals fans, but your team is just not very good. And they're especially not going to be very good without Kyler Murray. I'm sorry. The Bucs defense and Todd Bowles will want to blitz on this team, so he will absolutely be able to do that. I think he'll blitz all over this Cardinals offense and the offensive line, and they will get the quarterback going and scared regardless. So the defense will have a big game in this one, I believe. And I think Tom Brady can also take advantage there too. If he does not run into J.J. Watt or Budda Baker, he could have a field day with this team. And they could probably get a little bit away with running the ball, but they have not been good with running the ball this year. But regardless, I'm still taking the Bucs. I will take the Bucs to win. I will take them to cover the spread. It's very well possible that they will do that. And the final game of Week 16 is on Monday Night Football. It is the Los Angeles Chargers at the Indianapolis Colts. This spread, I heard today, originally it was at 3.5, but I heard earlier today from the Bottom Line View that this game is now at 5 points even. I'm taking the Chargers to win this straight up. The Colts once again benched Matt Ryan. And they're not going with Sam Ehlinger, thank goodness. But instead they're going with former Super Bowl champion of Nick Foles. They are going to that extreme now. I have no idea why they're doing this at this point in the season. It's not helping them in any given way. They're not making the playoffs whatsoever. This team is not good. So I have no idea why they're going with Nick Foles, but they should have gone with him earlier this season. We'll see how he does. I don't think he's really going to do anything. He might bring a spark a little bit to this offense, but this will probably be the only week that he would be able to do that because of the Chargers and what their coaching staff does very often. But Justin Herbert is playing hot at the right time. He played a good game last week against the Titans that were very injured. Well, I can't say he played a good game, but he kept the Chargers in that game. The defense is also playing the kind of defense that I thought we would have seen already this year. Their defense is getting hot at the right time. Justin Herbert may not have played his best game last week, but he's pushing along. He's trying his best now. He's got both of his receivers back, especially when you have Mike Williams back there. That's your number one guy. That's the guy you want to look into getting the ball to. And they run the ball very well too. The only thing that I'm a little bit concerned about this game is how good the Colts defense is. Their offense is trash. but their defense is a top 10 unit easily. Or maybe a little bit less than that, because there have been some games where they have let up some points. But this defense is solid. And they're rock solid. So they could make this a game. So, but I like the Chargers, though, better. I think the Chargers are a more rounded team. I think they're a better team. And I think they're also a better coach team. And that's saying a lot there if you're going against a team like the Colts. And when you're going against coaches like Jeff Saturday. That has been a disaster for this team. So I got to pick the Chargers. I got to pick the team with more of the talent. And I would probably take them at 3.5. Either that, or you could also take plus 3.5 with the Colts, too. Because it's also very likely, too, that the Colts could find a way to also cover the spread if Nick Foles brings a spark to this team. But I don't think that's happening. And with all that being said, everybody, that is all for my Week 16 predictions for this week. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Leave a comment down below. Make sure you drop a like on this video. And in order to really help me out, guys, please hit that subscribe button. Hit the notification bell, guys. I really need your help as far as helping me get to the swing of things. Helping me get into the swing of things as far as, like, helping me, with the NFL content that I talk about each and every week, engaging in conversations with me as far as football goes, because I'm telling you guys, it just helps me out in the long run, and it just helps make the channel better. So, like, subscribe, comment, notification bell. Do all those things, please, and all will be good. And with all that being said, guys, I hope you all have a wonderful holiday. Eat lots of food. Enjoy yourselves with your family. I'm definitely going to be doing that too. I work in a school, so I'm going to be getting at least 10 days off. So I'm really looking forward to my nice break here. I'll probably even go back to the drawing board a little bit, even think about some content ideas to really talk about when it comes to the postseason and when it comes to the offseason for the NFL to talk about. So a lot of things are going to be really good, and I'm looking forward to it. So everybody, enjoy your holiday, and we will see you all next week. This is your boy, JP Football Fanatics, saying happy holidays, everybody.